Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Friday, August 26th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The U.S. economy is clearly showing, quote, strong underlying momentum. This according to Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. As Gloria Pazmino reports, the chairman made it clear, though, that we're likely to see interest rates rise to battle back inflation.
The economic pain is likely to continue. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell delivered the keynote speech at the annual Jackson Hole Economic Symposium Friday, sending a clear message that the central bank's continued focus is to tame rampant inflation.
Our responsibility to deliver price stability is unconditional.
Powell said reducing inflation will not come easy. A period of slower growth is likely awaiting the U.S. economy.
While higher interest rates, slower growth, and softer labor market conditions will bring down inflation, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses.
Despite Powell's warning, the Fed's preferred measure of inflation, known as the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, showed that price increases slowed in July. It's all key to how Americans are perceiving the current economic climate.
The idea is that if people believe prices are going to go up, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so you want to nip that in the bud and convince the public, convince markets, convince consumers, convince businesses that, no, don't worry, we have it under control.
Wall Street was quick to react. Major indices dropped after Powell hinted at the likelihood of sustained periods of higher interest rates.
These are the unfortunate costs of reducing inflation. But a failure to restore price stability would mean far greater pain.
Gloria Pazmino, KPBS News.
Could President Biden's plan to forgive $10,000 of student debt for millions of borrowers raise inflation? Our financial analyst weighs in. That's coming up in the Friday Business Report. New details and new reaction emerging tonight into that high-profile rape allegation involving current and former San Diego State football players. As we've reported, a civil lawsuit has identified the players alleged in the gang rape of a teenage girl last fall. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen talked to a legal expert regarding the unusual legal strategy taking place.
If true, this is a very egregious case.
Gretchen Von Helms is a criminal defense attorney who's been practicing for more than 30 years. She says, based on the allegations in this case, it is unusual that no charges have been filed. She says it's also rare for the civil case to be filed before the criminal case.
Her civil attorney may want to just get the ball rolling because we don't know what's true or not true, and we don't know all the facts.
The suit alleges former Aztec punter Matt Ariza had sex with the then 17-year-old girl and gang raped her with 3 other men, including Xavier Leonard and Nolan Pa'a Ewaleko. All 3 were on the SDSU football team, though Leonard is the only one who is still active on the roster. All have proclaimed their innocence through their attorneys. Von Helms is not representing any of the defendants in the suit. She says the civil suit has a lower standard of proof than the criminal case, but it also moves slower than the criminal case. It could be years before a civil suit wraps up, and the criminal case could be over by then. The DA's office has yet to file any criminal charges. A spokesperson for the DA says the office is still reviewing the case.
It seems as if the police officers were trying to take their time on this case and not rush to judgment. And, because they get accused of rushing to judgment in a lot of cases. And so I think they were trying to take their time on it.
Ariza was picked by the Buffalo Bills in the 6th round of this year's NFL draft.
It's a cash grab.
Ariza's attorney, Carrie Armstrong, says that's the reason the woman, identified only as Jane Doe, waited until Ariza was named as the starter for the Bills to file the suit.
He waited until after that happened to file a civil lawsuit. He could have done it months ago if he wanted to. Could have done it a month ago when he and I communicated about it.
Araiza was supposed to start for the Bills in tonight's game, but has since been benched. Armstrong said Araiza, the NFL, and the Bills did not know about the investigation until about 6 weeks ago.
Mr. Araiza adamantly disputes much of what's in the civil complaint, including the allegation that he forcibly raped her.
The Buffalo Bills, in a statement issued yesterday, say the team has conducted a thorough examination of the matter, but because of the ongoing civil case, will not comment further. As for Leonard, who is still on the roster for the Aztecs, the athletics department did not respond to a request for comment. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
School is back in session for many San Diego students, and the new year brings some new transit opportunities. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer with how those 18 and under can get a free ride.
It was getting kind of really expensive every month, having to pay like $25, and also just keeping up.
Karina Sandoval is a soon-to-be senior at Hoover High School who's been riding public transit since 9th grade. She says expired fares made her miss classes and even a test. The new Free Youth Opportunity Pass has gotten rid of those issues and expanded her world.
I did an internship in Chula Vista, and because I was able to have the Youth Opportunity Pass, I was able to do like buses, and I had to take a trolley and then more buses. So without the Youth Opportunity Pass, it would have been so expensive and I wouldn't have been able to do the internship at all.
The Sandag Youth Opportunity Pass program offers completely free rides on buses, the trolley, the coaster, and sprinter for those under 18. The program began on May 1st, providing free rides in the Metropolitan Transit System and North County Transit District. Ariana Federico Mondragon is with the group Mid-City Can, which advocated for the free passes.
This really does give them an opportunity to really be part of their community, get to know San Diego, but also it alleviates that financial burden that we did see families have.
For youth to take advantage of the free rides, they need a Youth Pronto app account or a Pronto Youth card. Those cards are being distributed at the transit store and at some schools, according to MTS CEO Sharon Cooney.
So ridership is already up. It's up 55% from last year, and that's overall. But with Youth Opportunity Pass, in May, when we instituted it, we saw an increase of 34% of youth using our transit system.
The Youth Opportunity Pass pilot program is the latest effort by Sandag to improve mass transit and make it more accessible and equitable for historically underserved communities. The program will run through June 30th, 2023. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
With San Diego Unified School District starting on Monday, county health officials are encouraging parents to get their kids vaccinated for COVID-19. The latest numbers show about 85% of children between the ages of 12 and 17 have received at least one dose of a vaccine. There's a large drop-off for younger age groups, 47% for those ages 5 to 11, and just 9% for children under 4 years old. Dr. Mark Sawyer says it's on the FDA's Vaccine Advisory Committee, says data shows the shots are safe and effective.
Millions of people have received these vaccines, adults and children. Parents can be reassured that the vaccines are not new anymore. We know what we're dealing with, and when despite the rare but potential side effects, pediatricians are 100% in favor of recommending the vaccine for children.
Dr. Sawyer says he encourages parents who still have questions to talk to their pediatrician or family physician. New protection against COVID-19 is likely on the way. The FDA is expected to approve Pfizer's updated booster within a week. The shot is designed to protect against the Omicron strains that account for most new infections. Pfizer says the new vaccine also protects against older variants. A CDC Vaccine Advisory Committee is scheduled to meet next Thursday and Friday to discuss the booster. Tonight, San Diego County is reporting 249 confirmed or probable cases of monkeypox. The risk of contracting the virus remains low for school-aged children, but schools, colleges, and universities are on alert. Mandy Gaither has more.
In the U.S., more than 16,000 people have confirmed or probable monkeypox infections. Almost all are in adults.
But the transmission of this virus typically occurs by skin-to-skin contact. And if, a children has contact with somebody who's infected, they're going to get infected.
While the risk of monkeypox for school-age children remains low, 17 confirmed or probable cases among kids younger than 15 have been reported to the CDC. This week in Newton County, Georgia, a confirmed case in an elementary school student. Another student at a different school in the district is also being tested. School system officials saying employees will thoroughly clean and disinfect classrooms and other areas at both schools.
I think we don't need to panic about this. I think we need to stay informed. But the cases in children, as you already said, are less than 1% of the total cases that we see.
For extra protection, health experts say parents can familiarize yourself with the symptoms. Keep children home if they have a fever and rash. Talk to your pediatrician since several illnesses cause fever and rash. Wash hands and clean and disinfect surfaces. When it comes to colleges and universities, the CDC has launched a new landing page with monkeypox resources.
We have a whole protocol in place to help people be evaluated.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And we have a special page on our website tracking the latest monkeypox news locally with our latest reporting and information on vaccines. Look for the link on our homepage, kpbs.org. San Diego's Bishop Robert McElroy is at the Vatican, where tomorrow he will become a cardinal. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has details on and a message from the Cardinal's designate to San Diegans.
It's the eve before one of the biggest days of Bishop Robert McElroy's life, the day Pope Francis will officially make him a cardinal. During Saturday's ceremony, he'll trade in his amaranth hat for a red one, a symbol he's willing to lay down his life for the church. But his heart is with the people of San Diego, where he's led a diocese of 1.3 million Catholics.
Thank you for having been a grace to me in these past 7 years of my life while I've been Bishop of San Diego.
All eyes have been on McElroy. He's the only American out of 21 becoming cardinals. In the U.S., he's the only one from the West Coast, the first ever from San Diego, and the only one from a border city.
A major element of our outreach within the life of the diocese is centered on migrants and refugees. And it's a great source of joy. We're making the gospel present in that way. And I know that it is a tremendous element of why Pope Francis appointed me to be a cardinal.
He's been recognized by Pope Francis for the contributions that he has made to the church and that his ministry has made in the lives of other people.
Kevin Eckery, the director of communications for the Diocese of San Diego, is on the trip with a delegation of about 180 people. He says McElroy has already had a busy day of interviews, and it's been a roller coaster of emotions since the announcement in May.
It's a really complex and interesting time. I mean, on an emotional level, this is an historic event. I mean, there's never been a cardinal from San Diego.
To know that a cardinal will be here in San Diego is a joy.
And the fact that McElroy will be the first cardinal from San Diego and also based here, many like Taylor Williams, a student at John Paul the Great Catholic University in Escondido, feel like it's a sign from above.
The abundance of graces, God certainly has his eyes on us. And knowing that San Diego has a unique role in picking the next pope is truly a blessing.
His main duties will remain the same, to oversee the Diocese of San Diego.
Thank you for showing me so many stories of heroism lived in the life of faith in often very difficult circumstances.
He will celebrate his first Mass as a cardinal on Sunday at St. Patrick's American Church in Rome. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
1 year ago, 13 service members, mainly from Camp Pendleton, died along with more than 100 Afghans when a bomb exploded at the Kabul airport. New details emerge about how the Marines took it on themselves to rescue a group of young female Afghan skateboarders. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has the story.
It's August 2021. Hundreds of Afghans crowd the Abbey Gate at the airport in Kabul, desperate for ways to get out as the Taliban take over the city. Afghans are forced into a canal as they press to get inside.
It smells of desperation, right? The whole scene where, people are on this canal. It's dirty, sewage runoff, and it's just filthy, and they're just trying to get out.
Marine Captain Andres Rodriguez is part of security at the gate. Scores of Marines have been rushed from Jordan just days before the Americans were scheduled to leave Afghanistan after 20 years. Several units decided to help Afghans desperate to flee.
It just de-evolved quickly, where it's like, well, if no one else is going to do it, the Marines at 2-1 are going to do it. They're going to screen, they're going to help people, they're going to provide aid, they're going to do everything that they're being asked of.
Back in the U.S., Marine vet Jeff Faniff is getting calls and texts from Rodriguez and other Marines he knows at Abbey Gate, asking his help locating paperwork for people outside the airport. Faniff tweets his advice for getting into the airport, and then his phone starts to ring.
I found myself having to ask again and again those Marines, hey, can you look for this person? Hey, can you go out into the crowd and try and find so-and-so? Because at the time I was fielding requests from everyone from, local Afghans whose husband or wife was trying to get through the crowd to colonels at the Pentagon who somehow got my phone.
And we apologize. We appear to be having some technical issues with that story. Today is Women's Equality Day. It commemorates the 1920 certification of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, granting women the right to vote. The day also calls attention to women's continuing efforts toward full equality. President Joe Biden observed the day by meeting with elected officials to discuss actions to protect access to reproductive health care. The president said the only way Roe v. Wade will be codified in Congress is if the American people make it happen in November, referring to the midterm elections. The end of summer is approaching, and visitors wanting to enjoy the beach will need to be extra cautious this weekend, especially on North County beaches. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne tells us an incoming swell is creating strong rip currents.
The sun is shining in Oceanside, and visitors are soaking it up at the beach. But they may not know that there are some dangerous currents that can carry you out to sea.
The overall general public, they probably don't realize the changes going on, like with the surf and the south swell and the increased uptick in rip current activity.
Meteorologist Alex Tardy says a swell coming in from the south-southwest is creating bigger surf and stronger rip currents, especially on North County beaches.
It looks like 3 to 6 feet type surf, not huge, but for summer, a moderate set of waves coming up. And what that means for rip currents is they'll be more active along our beaches. And typically the south swell affects the North County more, like Oceanside and Orange County.
Tardy says that as Labor Day approaches, San Diego is headed into a heat wave, so more people may be headed to the beach.
The beach is obviously the best place to go during heat waves. This weekend's going to be warm, not hot, so it's pretty perfect weather besides the rip current danger.
Greg Trebby is a beach lifeguard sergeant with the city of Oceanside. He says many beach visitors are oblivious to stronger rip currents, so his team is ready to jump into action if needed.
Our staff is always diligent. Even on the smallest days, we can have hazards that may maybe not be readily visible to the public, but days that we have larger or stronger rip currents, they're definitely aware of that, and they try to be extra vigilant.
He says the best advice if you find yourself caught in a rip current is to stay calm. Don't try to fight the current, and try swimming parallel to shore or float on your back until help arrives.
Yeah, especially with people who aren't very familiar with the ocean, we ask that you know your limitations. If you're not a strong swimmer, maybe stay a little bit closer, stay where you can touch, waist deep. Even if you feel like you can touch, a set could come in and kind of lift you off your feet, and as soon as you're off your feet, you lose that anchor point, and it'll start pulling you out to sea. But again, we encourage you to swim near a lifeguard.
Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Drier air is returning, and the monsoonal storms will be on the wane, so we'll get rid of those storms that caused problems in the mountains and deserts the past couple of days. The weekend looks nice, just a little bit cooler, dry air into next week, and then temperatures will start to rise, getting very warm here Tuesday into Wednesday. Here's a look at the water vapor loop where you see the yellows and the oranges. That's the dry air. If you look real close, you can see the flow turning a little bit more westerly, and that's nudging the monsoonal moisture to the east. We'll see our usual clouds rolling in later tonight. Temperatures settling down into the upper 60s, mid-60s Oceanside, El Cajon 68 for a low, Borrego Springs 80, drying out in the mountains here, Mount Laguna 61, Campo at 61. Typical late August heat with us on Saturday as monsoonal moisture gets shifted off to the east as that flow turns more westerly. Temperatures climbing up to 107 in Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna, beautiful day. Oceanside 77, and you can see Escondido 85, El Cajon 88. Let's check out that future satellite and radar for you. Of course, we start off with our morning clouds. They'll start to melt away. And take a look into the mountains and deserts. You see anything happening here? Well, not really. Maybe a stray storm off to the east. But the trend is for drier and for some beautiful weather this weekend. Very warm in the interior, of course, pleasant along the coast. And the coast will see temperatures this weekend in the 70s, upper 70s. Next week, we'll start to warm it up. You can see Wednesday, we're in the mid-80s. Inland, temperatures start to soar next week. Oh, Wednesday, we're up to 97 degrees. The mountains, nice weekend here. Next week, gets hot. And as we take you out to the deserts, it'll be dry. And it's getting pretty hot here Tuesday into Wednesday. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
School districts across the country are grappling with teacher and bus driver shortages as the new school year gets underway. Thousands of educators are leaving the profession, a trend that was developing even before the start of the pandemic. Reporter Gloria Pazmino has more.
I love teaching, and making the decision to leave the classroom is by far one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make.
Estella Owima Church has spent 15 years teaching English and theater in Los Angeles. But this year, she won't be returning to the classroom.
For the last few weeks, it has been a mourning, a grieving process.
According to the president of the National Education Association, schools are facing a shortage of 300,000 teachers across the country. Experts say it's a trend that started before the COVID-19 pandemic and is seemingly exacerbating school staff shortages.
What you have is real shortages in two ways. One, teachers who know what they're doing leaving the profession early. And second, the number of people coming into teaching is far fewer today than before.
Randy Weingarten is the president of the American Federation of Teachers. A recent member survey showed low job satisfaction among school professionals. 79% of them say they're dissatisfied with working conditions since the start of the pandemic.
There are a lot of reasons why this profession is unsustainable for educators across the country. The expectations on educators continue to grow, but we are also under-resourced.
Faced with gaps in personnel, districts are changing certification requirements, and some are offering signing bonuses to attract new hires. And it's not just teachers. This month, St. Louis Public Schools told parents a nationwide bus driver shortage will affect thousands of their students. John Lewis has been driving school buses in Los Angeles for 31 years. He says low wages are driving the shortage.
School bus drivers used to make a lot of money. Now, they're not as competitive as Los Angeles.
As the school year gets underway, Lewis is picking up additional routes and struggling to make drop-offs on time. That's a responsibility he doesn't take lightly.
You feel like they're your children, right? Because you're responsible for them for so long. And then when they grow up, but I'm just doing it because I want them to get to school.
I'm Gloria Pazmino reporting.
Those trying to pay off student loans will be getting some help. In the Friday Business Report, Miro Kopik explains why criticism in regards to inflation might be overblown.
You know, the criticism is it will spur additional inflation. All the analysis that has been conducted would suggest either it will spur no inflation or maybe a tenth of a point, which is negligible overall. And the reason is because these student borrowers are making payments every month. So the question becomes, if all these 45 million borrowers, get relief on the same day and they all start spending all those monthly payments, then yes, it might, tick up inflation a little bit. But overall, the behavior of these individuals is that they're underwater. They can't live their lives along with the student loan burden. And this will kind of open that up so either they can go back to school, they could make another purchase and go from there. But really, we're not talking about $10,000 in your pocket today. It's the monthly payment that those students had that would be put back into the economy, and the likelihood that they're going to spend it all on something that's discretionary and that moment is going to be fairly limited.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, why the Federal Reserve plans to keep aggressively fighting inflation, even if it leads to job loss. That's coming up at 7 right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
It's time to clear the shelters. The San Diego Humane Society is waiving all adoption fees tomorrow in hopes of finding homes for hundreds of companion animals. You can visit any of the campuses in El Cajon, Escondido, Oceanside, San Diego from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. tomorrow. And after the one-day event, reduced adoption fees of $20 for dogs, cats, and kittens, and $5 for small pets will continue through the end of the month. All dogs, puppies, cats, kittens, rabbits, even some pigs and ducks are up for adoption, and you can find them all online at sdhumane.org/adopt. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.